When I moved from Chicago to California, my pastor says to me, Jenny, never lose your accent. I said, I never knew I had one. And it must be getting worse because so many people tell me that don't lose it. And I still don't know if I have it. But I think it's getting worse because in Chicago it was only one man, and here it's a lot of people were telling me that. I think it goes with the age. Well, anyway, I have to tell you my story. And I hope by the time I'm through that you will want a little more of him, because he wants more of us. When I was 1 year old, you see, I was born in Holland. That's where my accent comes from. I was born in Holland, and when I was 1 year old, my father lost everything in a flood. He was a farmer. And I had 5 brothers and 1 sister at that time. And my dad had enough money to send 2 boys to America. So a few years later, one came back and picked up number 3 son. And a few years after that, the 4th one left. And some more years, the 5th one they picked up. Then they said, we won't come back. We're going to send you the money, and you come to America when we have enough to come for you. And in the meantime, I had gotten another sister. Well, then the First World War broke out. You see, maybe some of you don't know we even had one, but there was one. I'm from way back. And my mother didn't want to cross that ocean with those mines floating around, so we had to wait till the war was over. And in 1919, we were ready to go, and I was going to marry a millionaire. See, by that time, I was almost 18. But you take a girl out of Holland, almost 18 years old, I was very miserable when I came here because I couldn't speak the language, and I was lonesome. And I said to my mother, if there was a bridge across that ocean, I would walk back. It's a good thing there wasn't. No? I was so lonesome. And then one day my brother says to me, would you like to go to a dance? I said, I would love it. We had those cute dances in Holland, and I had lots of girlfriends and boyfriends in Holland, and I would love to go to a dance. He says, all right, I'll take you Saturday night. He took me to a dance, and in the doorway stood a young man. He looked at me, and I looked at him, and you know how that goes. He was watching me, but I was dancing with my brother. And I said to my brother, there's a young man, he keeps on looking at me all the time, but maybe he thinks you're my boyfriend. I think you better leave me alone a while. And he did. And there this young man came. He bowed. That's usually the way they did it those days. He bowed, and I danced with him. We had a great time, but he started to talk, and I couldn't understand him. And it wasn't English. And I talked, and of course I didn't speak English either. It was Holland, but you see, he was from Denmark. He spoke Danish. So there we were. We couldn't understand each other, but we laughed, and we had a good time, and we danced. Well, I said to my brother, I think this guy wants to take me home. He says, oh, he looks innocent enough. So he took me home, and we had many nice dates together. I don't know what we were talking about. But when you are in love, you don't need to speak. And, you know, we went to a lot of those ice cream parlors, and the only thing I could say in English was banana split. So we had lots of banana splits. Well, it was wonderful. We had a great time, but my father didn't like it. He thought the only good people came from Holland. And I didn't like those Holland fellas he had there for me. He had 3 nice old bachelors. And I didn't want any of them. I wanted his Dane. And it's been on. And finally, I thought to settle it. So we ran away and got married. And that the Holland people didn't do either. This was terrible. But we were very happy. And the first year, I had a baby girl. The second year, I had a baby boy. And the third year, I had a baby boy. And I thought, boy, if this keeps on, I'll have a great big family. Well, you know, those days you had no babysitters. So I was home with 3 babies, and my husband was out. And he thought if he would play cards and win some money, he could get me a beautiful home in a hurry. Well, it got such a hold of him that it became gambling. And before you knew it, I hardly saw a paycheck. And some cards that went to horses. And I had a real gambler on my hands. And it was miserable. It started to get miserable. And I couldn't ask my people for help because, you see, everything was my own fault. You ran away and got married. Don't come to us for help. You didn't listen? Now, make your bed and you lay in it. That's all there is to it. Don't come to us. And I say to the parents who have wayward children, don't shut the door. I know everything was my own fault. But oh, it hurts when you hear that. I tell you, just love them and leave the door open. Well, there I was. I couldn't ask nobody. Well, then there came a great big strike in the Simmons Bat Factory in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And my husband was one of the leaders, so they blacklisted him as a communist, although he never was one. But they did. So there was no more work for him in Kenosha, so we had to go to Chicago. We stored all our furniture, and I've never seen it since. Well, there we were. And you live in Chicago in a little 3-room apartment. You don't know anybody, and nobody cares. And there we were. And I would take those little kids to the park, and my little boy would walk from picnic group to picnic group with his little hands behind his back, watching people eat out of their baskets. And he would come to me, and he would say, why don't we ever have a picnic basket? I said, oh, someday I hope we are. But it never came. Well, that went on, and then the Great Depression started. There was a Great Depression. They talk about it now, but I tell you, there was one years ago. And my husband at that time, they took him on welfare, but you had to work for it. He made $55 a month, and the people on the north side worked on the south side, and the south side people worked on the north side just to keep the streetcar companies in business. That was the Great Depression. Well, I already had a depression before it ever began. And there we were. And I thought, what have I done? My husband got to be more and more crabby because there was no money for him to gamble with or anything, of course. Hated the job, and I hated everything. Well, there we were, and I thought, what have I done? All I really did was run away and got married. What have I done? Nobody cares for me, nor the children, nobody. So why don't I end it? So one Saturday night, I hardly saw my husband on any Saturday. So then, there we were, I thought to myself, I'm going to end this. Tonight, I'm going to put the gas on. I thought that was the easiest way out. I thought hell and heaven was right here on earth, and all the rich people in heaven and all the poor in hell. And we didn't have no backup. We had no shower. I just had an old galvanized tub, and I give those kids a bath, and I kissed them good night and goodbye. They didn't know it was goodbye, and I tucked them under those blankets, and then I took my own bath. Being a Hollander, I thought at least they find us clean. And I walked to the gas stove, and it was such an old stove, and you touched that jet, it would practically fall over. But you know, I walked to that stove, and I put my hand on there, and it wouldn't move, one way or the other. It was just a stick. And I said, this is it. I'm going to take those children with me. And the jet would not move. And a voice came in that room. A voice. I wasn't thinking it. I heard it. And the voice said, no, you won't take those children with you if you do this. They go one place and you go another. I wasn't thinking it. I heard it. And I said, what's that? If you do this, they will go one place and you will go another. And I got hysterical because the voice was so clear. It has never left me. I walked from that stove to a picture on the wall of my husband's parents, just a small picture. And I said, how can you beautiful looking people have such a rotten son? And I thought, I'm going to find out in 2 weeks if there is 2 places. I didn't know where to go, but I'm going to give this 2 weeks, and if I don't find this out in 2 weeks, I'm going to go through with it. Nothing will stop me. Well, the first week, nothing happened. But the first Monday of the second week, 5 o'clock, I looked through the curtains to see how crabby my husband looked. I looked through those curtains and he smiled. And I thought, my goodness, maybe he got a promotion. He came by that kitchen door and he said, I met the most interesting man today. He told me that Jesus is coming again. I said, you're crazy. They crucified him 2,000 years ago. Yes, he says, but he's coming again. He says, have you got a Bible? I said, a what? A Bible. I said, yes, we do have a Bible. Years ago, an old lady gave me a Bible, and she says, read this. A lot of people get comfort out of it. Well, I started on page 1, just like a book. And I landed in so much trouble and so many wars. I thought, this is not for me. This is nothing but an old history book. Why should I read all this trouble? I have enough of it already. So I put the book in the closet. But I found it. And I give it to my husband, and he says, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you that Jesus is coming again. And he went to that beautiful verse in John 14. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it weren't so, I would have told you. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, that ye may be also. He says, do you see that? I will come again. I said, that's a beautiful verse. I've never seen that before. He says, let's hurry up and eat. We ate, and otherwise he would go out, but not that night. He took that Bible and sat in a chair and was reading it. Now and then he would look up to me and he said, this is beautiful. This is fantastic. And I thought, my goodness. Well, I watched him. I was glad to see him sit there instead of going out. But that never talked. He was just reading. Finally, I said, you better go to bed, because you got to get up 4 in the morning to go way to that south side job. He says, you go to bed. He says, don't worry about me. I'll get up at 4. Just you go to bed. Well, I lay there a long time, and it was so quiet, and I thought the rascal has snuck out. So I got up and peeked through the door. No, he was still sitting there. I said, you got to go to bed. You got to get up at 4. He said, don't worry. I went back to bed, and I lay there a little while longer, and I thought, this is ridiculous. You'll never get up at 4. So I was going to storm through that door, and there I saw a sight which I had never seen before. He was kneeling by the big chair, tears streaming down his face, praying, make me a better father, make me a better husband, and oh Lord, give me wisdom. I couldn't say nothing, and I went back to bed, and pretty soon he came, tears still going down his face. He says, you don't have to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. He says, I'll take care of it myself. Now, 4 o'clock in the morning, he disappeared. At 5 o'clock, I peeked through the curtains to see how he looked. And his smile was bigger than ever, waving at me. And I thought, boy, he's been by that man again. And the same thing. We had our little supper, and he sits there with the Bible. That's 3 nights. And I thought, my goodness, is that all he's going to do now? Sit here every night reading that Bible? So I threw a shoe at him. And I thought I would get it right back, but he put his knife next to him and was waiting for the other one. But I didn't dare. And then I thought, how foolish of me. Before I never did anything, and now when I see him sit here every night, now I throw a shoe at him. I started to look foolish. And then the devil got after me. You see, the devil never bothered me before because he already had me. But the devil says to me, you ask your husband for chains on his ransom. Just imagine me worrying about chains. I never give chain a thought in all my life. But all of a sudden I had to know where he got his ransom. There were only 2 people, and they had 2 sons, and one killed the other. Where did King get his ransom? He said, I don't know, but I'll ask my husband. I'll ask this man tomorrow. You see, he was 8 hours a day with this man under the expense of the government studying the Bible. Well, he says, I don't know, but I'll ask this man. So he came home 5 o'clock, and he told me, Adam and Eve had more children. I never knew it. I never even gave it a thought. And years later, he married a sister. Well, that's pretty good. And I said, I got another one for you. I was terrible. I wanted to know how Jonah could breathe in the belly of the big fish. Imagine me worrying about Jonah. Well, he says, I don't know. I'll ask that man tomorrow. Well, this man told him, and I was waiting for him that night, and it always reminds us of a story of a girl in a streetcar in Chicago. She was reading the Bible, and a man came up to her, and he says, you're such a nice-looking girl. You need to tell me you believe that book you're reading? She says, from cover to cover. He says, all right, tell me, how could Jonah breathe in the belly of the big fish? He says, I don't know, but then I'll get to heaven, I'll ask him. He said, suppose he isn't there. Well, she says, then you ask him. Well, I was just as foolish And you know, this man told my husband what a great God we had. The God who created this whole universe. Everything in it, everything around it. He made God so big. And in the book of Job we read that he cutteth the rivers out of rocks. And his eyes see every little thing. It was so easy for God to create a fish to take care of Jonah. Well, you know, I was thinking, this man knew with the questions my husband came to him that I was in big trouble. And he said, why don't you give your wife this tract and tell her to read it? So my husband gave me a piece of paper. I didn't even know what a tract was. And my husband gave me that piece of paper and he says, this man tells me to tell you to read it and maybe this will help you. So I cleaned up my little apartment, and 10 o'clock in the morning I sat in that same chair and I thought, maybe this will help me, sitting in this same spot. And I had said to my husband, I think it's nice to pray to be a better father and a better husband, but why do you want all that wisdom? He was praying for wisdom every night too. I thought you knew everything. He says, I don't know nothing. Well, I thought I'd better sit in this same chair. And I read that little piece of paper, and it had John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. For God so loved the world, the whole world, everybody in it, every nationality, black or white, it doesn't make any difference. The whole world. Put your own name there. So I did. For God so loved Jenny, that Jenny who believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. I saw it just like that. And I went by that big chair on my knees. I could hardly wait till 5 o'clock came around. I peeked through the curtains to see how my husband looked, because his smile got bigger every day. He waved at me and I waved back, and when he came by that kitchen door, I threw my arms around him and I said, I got it too. And we had a wonderful time. We were so happy. Well, he says, this man wants to see you next Saturday. He's going to come over. I said, wonderful. I like to meet him too. 2 o'clock in the afternoon that Saturday he came. And he said, isn't it wonderful you know the Savior next Christmas? I said, yes. See, this was in January. We just had Christmas. Oh, he said, you will celebrate Christmas so much better the next time. I said, yes, our Christmases never were any good. No, but they will be good from now on. I said, they sure will be. He says, yes. He says, you see, he says, when you had your baby, your first baby, that just belonged to you and your husband. Nobody else. That was your baby. You send out announcements? I said, no, we didn't. Well, he says, they usually do that, don't they? I said, yes, they do, but we didn't. Well, he says, you see, when Jesus was born, the angels announced it. The angels said, fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy. Unto you and you and you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. It was everybody's baby. That baby belonged to everybody. He says, that's beautiful. Yes, he says, and it was born in a manger. And John says, behold the Lamb of God which taketh away the sins of the world. He says, that baby was wrapped in swaddling clothes. He says, do you know what swaddling clothes are? I said, no. Well, he says, swaddling clothes, they wrap around dead people. And God showed from the very beginning that baby came to die for you and me. I said, that's beautiful. So we sat down and we studied that Word of God from 2 o'clock till 2 that night.